Vocational profiling is part of the initial interview with clients and is needed to assist in preparing people for work. It enables us to get a snapshot of the typical attributes needed by employers, identifies skills and experiences, discusses vocational options, and determines clients' preferences. Vocational profiling is an essential part of the employment specialist role. Employment specialists use it to assist with job development and to assist in setting goals and progressing a client towards being employed. The vocational profile helps build a relationship between the client and the employment service, and also sets the tone for the support that will form around the pathways to employment. It provides an opportunity for the client to discuss their preferences, career goals, but it also provides the client the chance to discuss any concerns, preferences and fears they might have. The idea of developing a vocational profile is that it gives the employment service a starting point to work from when meeting a new client. It sets a standard that's known to all staff that ensures that everybody progresses towards employment. The vocational profile is not a set thing. It evolves with the knowledge of the client, and both parties then get to see the gap between their profile and their preferences and their plan and their current status. So in this demonstration we see how the employment specialist works through the vocational profile, establishing rapport and learning as much as they can from this first encounter without overwhelming the client. Sharon, what are the important elements to look for here?
Thanks, Geoff. Well, there are a few key elements that we look for when we're compiling a vocational profile. First thing, listen to the client. This might seem self-evident and very simple, but far too often employment specialists go to this appointment with their own agenda, and that's often based on their own needs and their organisational needs as a service provider. If you listen to the client, they will give you the tools to help you make a clear vocational profile for them and assist them in placement. Second, don't rush. Take your time. If you take your time making your client feel comfortable, you'll develop a rapport much more quickly and you'll obtain quality information from them. And finally, don't impose your opinion on what they need to do to get a job. Remember that a lot of your clients will have been out of work for quite some period of time, and they'll be very anxious themselves about going back into work. Once again, far too often, employment specialists go in with a predetermined plan for their client before they've even met them. And if you focus primarily on your client's needs, so your focus and time must be on what they require as a matter of priority.
I agree. This stage of the meeting, it's about them and their needs. It's not the other way around. It's really easy to get caught up in the process and all of the numbers, but of course your client is not interested in numbers. They just want your support and to know that you're on their side. So, well, let's just look at the footage.
G'day Brett, I'm Simon. I'm your employment specialist. Thank you for coming in. Or did you find the place okay?
Yeah, Simon, no worries.
Well, before we start, can I offer you a tea or a coffee?
No, I'm all good, thanks.
All right. Today we're going to start on a vocational profile. Have you heard that term before?
No, I haven't.
Well, it's quite easy. We chat for a while. We build up a working document which helps as a springboard for your goals.
Well, I don't really have any goals.
Well, good place to start. Would you like to set some?
Sure, yeah, why not?
Great. Well, can you tell me a bit about yourself, please?
Well, what do you want to know? I was born here. I went to school here.
Yep.
I started a plumbing apprenticeship. It didn't really work out. I did some labouring, some fruit picking, a couple of other odd jobs here and there. My last work was landscaping, potting plants and stuff.
All right. Well, the sound of it, you've got a variety of skills, which gives us a good starting point. When did you last actually work?
Oh, not for a while, at least 8 years. Not since my health started deteriorating. Well,
Sure. Are you happy to talk about your health, or at least in terms of how it may impact your work?
Yeah, no, sure. Yeah, I don't mind. I suffer from a mental health condition, but I manage it pretty well with my meds.
Yeah, because often employers will inquire as to why the job seeker is linked to disability employment service. Oh, is this something you're okay with to disclose?
Sure, yeah.
You're actually under no obligation to disclose, but sometimes it helps to allay fear for prospective employers. Yes, and sometimes disclosure can work actually with discussion to find a better fit for the job we're looking for.
Well, yeah, I used to be embarrassed about it, but I'm not now. I mean, it's not the sort of thing you're going to climb up and shout out from the rooftops, but if it's quite necessary, I don't mind letting people know.
Well, that's great. So what sort of work do you see yourself doing?
Well, I've always liked working with my hands,
Right,
so labouring or something.
Construction?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah. With your condition be a concern, I mean, construction usually starts about 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, no, that'll be no good. My meds flatten me pretty well. I'm not really up and running till about 9, so I guess construction mightn't be the best option. I don't want to let anyone down.
Well, this is good information, Brett. Every detail helps it easier to narrow down a plan for you. For instance, tourism is big in this area. Have you thought about the hospitality industry?
No, I haven't, but I'd give that a go.
Oh, great. What about transport? How do you get around?
Oh, my partner Alice drives me, or I catch the bus. I don't have a licence.
So why do you want to go back to work?
Well, I think I'm ready.
Right. Yeah.
Plus, I'm sick of laying around the house doing nothing. I like to be doing something, and wouldn't be bad to earn a few bucks as well.
Great. And how many hours per week do you think you're up to?
Well, I'd like to start off just part-time or casual at first, and then maybe make my way up to a full-time position. I mean, at least the way that I feel at the moment anyway.
Well, it sounds like a plan. It sounds like a goal. Start off casual and gradually work your way to a full-time position. Yeah. Now, say, if I was to offer you a job tomorrow.
Well, that's the thing. I'm a bit, what would I wear? Where do I go? What do I do? I'm still a bit freaked out about it.
That's okay. We take care of that for you because we're a team and I'm with you every step of the way.
Well, that sounds fantastic. It really takes the pressure off.
And another thing which might help is to bring someone, a friend of yours or someone you know or a family member into this teamwork we're building here to help us with the process.
Well, perhaps my partner Alice.
Well, it'd be great. Do you think she'd like to do it?
I think she'd love to.
Well, why don't we bring Alice to our next meeting?
Sounds fantastic.
All right, how about...
any day apart from Tuesday is...
all right. Wednesday, 9 a.m.?
Perfect.
All right, we'll see you then.
Awesome. Thank you, Simon.
Thank you.
So this was a typical demonstration of a vocational profile in an initial interview. The employment specialist Simon did well to establish rapport and certainly listened carefully to Brett's requirements.
I think it's good that you refer to this as an initial VP, Geoff, because the VP is a living tool and it needs to evolve with the client.
That's right. As the client's needs and preferences change, so too should the vocational profile.
Well, I noticed that Simon took the time to discover what Brett's needs were and his interests, and he positively supported Brett's work experience.
And I thought he handled the tricky topic of disclosure very well as well. Often that remains undiscussed and it can raise its head and become a problem later.
Another good thing, the way Simon introduced the concept of supported employment, that allayed any of Brett's fears. And did you notice Brett's reaction when it was mentioned that his partner Alice could be part of the team as well?
Yeah, that was a great move and it certainly put Brett at ease.
Yes, it's very important to note that at all times Simon made sure Brett was engaged with the process, that he was on his side.
I think the agenda was clear from the beginning. That's important. And Simon set the tone of the meeting, setting some goals, of course, and having some actions to carry on with.
And I like how Simon humanised the often frightening and confusing new technology. Everything's an acronym nowadays.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, so what next? Gathering all this information is great, but what happens with this information is now vital to success.
Absolutely. Also speed to action, having to get there quickly. So after the initial meeting, Brett will now be keen to see some sort of a progression. So it's important to follow up very soon after the initial VP with a plan. And in the next demonstration, we'll see two employment specialists, Simon and Sharon, at a morning briefing discussing their VPs.
This meeting will allow Simon to talk through the vocational profile with another employment specialist who will give another perspective on each case and assist to develop a plan of attack for doing job development. Let's take a look.
G'day Sharon, how are you?
Great.
How's the weekend?
Excellent. Spent most of it at the beach.
Lucky for some. Anyway, main thing this morning, we're a VP on a Brett Clasm.
Yes.
With me?
When did you see him?
Earlier today, he's in good spirits. I think he's honestly looking forward to getting back to the workforce.
Excellent. So what's first on the VP?
Well, his work history hasn't worked for, was it 8 years?
Wow.
Last job was a landscape centre, experience working with his hands, good variety of skills from fruit picking to labouring.
Right. So what would be his main barrier to employment?
Well, we discussed disclosure and he's fine to talk about his mental health condition. He says he's on meds that flatten him till about 9 a.m. most days. Otherwise, his condition doesn't impact his ability to work. I would say the length of time unemployed is the major barrier.
Okay, does he have his own transport?
No, he doesn't have a licence, but he has a partner, Alice, I believe, who's more than willing to drive, failing that, public transport. He said he doesn't mind as long as he doesn't have to travel more than 30 minutes there and 30 minutes back home.
Okay, and where's home?
Maroochydore, yeah.
Maroochydore, great. Okay. Has he given you any idea of what sort of hours he'd like to work?
Well, he'd like to start in a casual sort of hours, and then if it's working out, of course, then look to full-time employment. Yes.
Okay, I see he's got a benchmark of about 15 hours.
Yeah, I think it might be a good idea to start him with paid work trial.
Yeah, I agree. He's been out of work for a while. You don't want to set him up to fail.
But I haven't actually discussed paid work trials with him. I do have an appointment on Wednesday. I can broach the subject then.
Well, just a few other things to cover here. We've covered disclosure, that's okay. Any idea of what type of work he would like to do?
Well, he was pretty open at first. He actually expressed an interest in the construction industry, but not being really on top of things till 9 a.m. ruled that one out. I then suggested hospitality, and he seemed to show an interest in that.
Yeah, hospitality sounds good. It's a tourist area, so there's plenty of jobs going. Not early mornings, though.
He presents well, but he might need some interview and work clothes.
Not a problem. We can help him with that. Okay. And his availability? Any commitments or tasks that might get in the way?
He reckons 7 days a week. No, I made a note here. Yes, he has a regular doctor's appointment once a fortnight, but I'm sure we can work around that.
Okay. Well, when I do the job development, I'll just make sure the employer's aware.
Great stuff. Anything else?
No, I think that's all good. When do you think you'll have his CV ready?
Well, by our next meeting on Wednesday. Of course, if I need to know any more information, I'll just ring him to fill in the blanks.
Excellent. Do you mind if I come to the meeting on Wednesday?
Actually, that'd be a very good idea. Yeah, I think that'd be a good idea.
Be good to talk to him before I talk to the employers.
Yeah, I'll send you an email confirming that.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we've seen the employment specialists sharing ideas, which is really useful. This scene really helps demystify the process, which should...